Is voice AI the next big thematic in the stock market? In this video, we're going to break down what voice AI is, the different companies in the supply chain and in the thematic that stand to benefit, and we're going to talk about 4 stock picks in this theme that have potential to grow as this theme develops. So, voice AI is best understood as software that lets humans talk to computers naturally and then lets computers talk back naturally. So everyone's been on a phone call with a AI voice or a robot, but this theme is beginning to increase in enterprises, and because AI is getting better now, robots over the phone can now act on your behalf and actually can go take agentic responsibilities on the customer's behalf in the terms of a support conversation. But there's a lot of other things voice AI can do, and enterprises are leveraging this to automate a bunch of tasks, save money, and drive customer engagement through AI. So when kind of evaluating a new theme, I always like to ask myself a few different questions to kind of gauge how much interest is actually in this theme, because you need thematic kind of tailwinds in order for a theme to be substantial in the market and for your stocks to grow, right? So one of them is this theme showing up in earnings calls? So audio codes is one of the theme stocks, and they have specifically mentioned that their Voice AI Connect and Live Hub are scaling rapidly, and management has said that it's because of this expanding voice agent market. And they have said that reportedly it has been growing more than 100% year over year. So that's always a good thing to look at. And then, of course, you have big companies like Google and Amazon further developing their voice AI products like Alexa into shopping, and in tying their AI investment to passing it on to their users, right? So they can use it when shopping. And then you have Google discussing in earnings calls their Gemini Live and their voice camera screenshot inputs. And then on initial asking of this question, I would say yes, there is a great kind of increasing trend of AI agents, conversational AI, and voice AI showing up in earnings calls. And you kind of look at how these stocks have performed in the last few weeks, and you have seen companies like Bandwidth, ticker symbol BAND, absolutely going parabolic, running from about a $17 a share up to $53 a share on the backs of crazy voice AI growth. And you look at another company called Twilio, and these are two of the market leaders in voice AI, and you see them really taking off, and that is an amazing sign of maybe there's some further demand that can pass on to some of these smaller companies that we can get exposure in. So another question I like to ask myself is capital visibly flowing into this space? And so the clear signal here for voice AI, although it is not a public company, 11 Labs, they have raised at a $500 million, $11 billion valuation. They have raised $500 million, and that's more than tripling its valuation from the prior year. So they are currently over $300 million in ARR, and they have top institutional investors like BlackRock and many others. And they've also announced a collaboration with IBM to bring some of 11 Labs' functionality to their agentic AI platform. So they're rapidly growing revenue, and they have huge names in partnership with both on the customer side and the investor side, which is a great development for this voice AI theme. And then you go look at what X has just come out with, or Twitter. They recently posted a video announcing their voice AI agent solution that anybody can go pick a template or create their own voice agent. And this had, at the time, a screenshot, over 76 million views of them demoing a customer support voice agent that you can go use through XAI. So just another development in voice AI. And so what you want to ask yourself is this a durable multi-year theme, or is this a flash in a pan? And according to this market research company, Growth Market Reports, the global voice AI market size stands at roughly 7 billion as of 2024. So that was 2 years ago, but it's looking to compound at a 23% annual rate. And by the end of 2033, they estimate a $65 billion market. So tremendous growth there for a newly kind of carved out piece of this AI market, right? It's a very niche play on AI, but one that will see demand for years to come. So when we're looking at this theme, there are some other considerations to kind of understand. Anytime you're looking at a stock, obviously there's going to be bear cases or other things you have to understand. And one of those is basically that this is a industry that is going to be regulatory sensitive, and there's a real risk of fraud and deep fakes and things like these emerging from these types of technologies, AI voice. And so there might be some government intervention, and that's something as an investor you have to be cognizant of going forward. So overall, I would say this passes the theme verification check on initial questions. So now looking at kind of the industry architecture, really trying to understand the technology, the product, how it's built and how it's delivered to the customer, and understanding the supply chain and some of the other companies in the supply chain. I've made a few graphics here to kind of visualize what is going on from end to end. So in terms of the hardware and how the product and technology actually functions, you are going to have, a human speaking to an AI, and obviously you need things like microphone and device, but you also need technology called speech to text, or ASR, to convert this audio into text, pass it to an LLM, and then the LLM reason and obviously do inference, and then take actions on behalf of whatever the user is requesting or talking about. This could be something like connecting to the CRM, booking them an appointment, right? If it's a home service business or some sort of dental office or something like that. And then the AI has to do text to speech to tune the AI response back into natural audio and speak it. So it's a lot of different small parts, but otherwise fairly simple. But then you go look at what is hardware versus software, right? So obviously you have the devices and microphones, the phones, the laptops, all these things. But you have to have this connectivity infrastructure, and that's why telecom and a lot of telecom stocks are having a moment right now, because they are directly related to this voice AI theme, because basically that infrastructure is needed for this new kind of development in voice AI. And those are things like 5G, Wi-Fi, telecom, internet, and all these things. And these software layers rely on that connectivity. So just like I said, you've got the speech input layer here on software layers and the speech recognition. So that would be what is described as perception for the AI, or listening. And then you have the understanding and acting, and that would be the agent and agent acting on that information and going and actually doing those business cases that I talked about. Then the AI needs to speak back. And then there's a lot of, like I said, regulatory things, compliance, which is another developing trend of, hey, we need trust and control of our system. We need to monitor performance, ensure that the AI isn't saying anything that we wouldn't allow a normal human being to say, right? So all these things go into the hardware versus the software stack for what is powering these real-time voice AI agents. And then you go look at the voice AI value chain, right? So when you're looking more upstream, those are going to be pieces of the supply chain that are further away from the customer. And then when you go to more downstream, those are going to be closer to the customer. So there's a lot of these AI, general AI things like chips, the raw materials. These are way upstream. These are not relevant to invest in for this voice AI theme, because they are plays on general AI, right? So those are going to be companies that are in the semiconductor supply chain that we're not looking for when it comes to voice AI investments. We want more pure plays that are going to give us more of these midstream investments for companies that do these midstream things, like we were talking about how this technology actually works with the end user. So building a voice AI watch list has to take all those things into account. How thematically relevant are they? How much of their business stands to benefit if this theme takes off, right? And then I personally like to look at a smaller business. When I say smaller, I want to say it's less than $10 billion market cap, because bigger companies tend to have more diversified businesses. Obviously, Amazon has Alexa, which is a voice AI play, but that segment of their revenue is so small that it's not going to be significant to growing their business and thus growing their stock. And so as companies get bigger, they do more things. And so there's more pure plays and specific exposures when it comes to smaller companies. So with that in mind, I kind of screened, or I actually prompted ChatGPT to screen companies under $10 billion market cap in these various relevant layers of the supply chain for voice AI. One of those being voice transport and telecom. Obviously, we talked about bandwidth, but there's a few other companies here. And then at the end, I'll get my 4 kind of stocks I like in this theme. But you have companies like RingCentral. RingCentral, I'm personally not a fan of. I read a kind of a thread online from a bunch of business owners, and a lot of them did not recommend using it. So that kind of turned me away from it. Obviously, it could very well go up much more from here. And I was actually up today, I believe, on the day, but that's one I am weary of. But a lot of good names in this list for voice transport, telecom. A lot of these contact center as a service plays. That's CCAAS. And then you go into contact center AI and customer service automation. Some of the names on the last one, like I said, CCAAS, kind of come up here as well on this list. And you see names like eGain, LivePerson. Obviously, LivePerson is a $27 million market cap, which is a little bit small for my taste. I said I like smaller companies, but really you want to be in the 200 million to 10 billion market cap range. Anything less than $100 million, it's just going to be extremely volatile, and it's going to be hard to stomach and hold that volatility, right? So looking at some more parts of the supply chain, you have speech AI, infrastructure, and this one is got a few companies here. A company, CRNC, is an interesting one. Cerence. So something that is really interesting about Cerence is they do all the voice AI for cars, specifically in the car. So if you're on the road, anything you need, instead of having to type it in your phone, use your phone, or type it into the computer in the dashboard, you can just say it out loud and it can go and act on your behalf. And they actually are, I think I read a statistic, is they are in about 50% of new cars today. So they have an extreme scale. The company has had some things going on with it, with kind of lawsuits and revenue being very lumpy and not really growing up into the right like you would want to see. But that's a very interesting name, and I would love to see them expand and use their technology for other areas in the world, not just cars. That would be very interesting, and it's something I believe they have talked about in the earnings calls, but there's nothing definitive there yet. And then you can go look at kind of a tier 2 in this infrastructure. Speech analytics plays like NICE, like Verint, like eGain coming up again. So that's a nice list there. And then the last one, this one is a list of more broader plays for the agentic workflow orchestration. So kind of more platforms that are more focused on agentic AI rather than just voice. Obviously, a company like Path that's gotten beaten down is not going to be a great play on voice. This is just one, I don't know why ChatGPT wanted added there, but it did. And then you've got another few names here for that. But to move along here and kind of get into our picks, the stock number one that I thought is kind of doing a lot of interesting thing is going to be 8x8, ticker symbol EGHT. And what EGHT does is they are basically a software AI studio where you can build AI agents that are connected to all of your business channels, and you can set up these conversational agents to go and act on your behalf, right? So gone are the days of just the traditional chatbot, of just the traditional robot over the phone where you just are very static in nature when talking to them, right? They're basically every agent, every conversational channel that we have is going from dumb to smart. And they just recently came out with earnings, and they're actually up 14% in after hours after reporting these earnings. You can see they beat revenue by about $4 million, and then they beat EPS about 3 cents there. And they basically have said that their AI self-service interactions have more than doubled year over year, and their usage-based revenue is a mix of 23% of service revenue, which is up 14% last year. And basically, a lot of their metrics that they reported are just, growing in huge magnitudes. You can see voice API interactions is up 174% year over year. And basically, the commentary has been right there. These numbers tell you something important, and that is customers are using this technology because it's actually working for them and not just because it's available. So it seems like a sustainable product in the voice AI theme. Go ahead and into stock number 2 is going to be FIVN. So Five9, you could see something I noticed when kind of going through the supply chain and asking it to make a bunch of different watch lists is that this ticker came up multiple times, which is usually a good thing, right? Because their business is exposed to, the overarching voice AI theme, but also multiple parts of what make it interesting, right? The different aspects of the theme. Maybe they have sub exposure to the sub themes, if you will. And so this company is a cloud contact center, and they're positioned to kind of capture this AI-driven transformation of enterprise customer service, right? So the customer service industry is transitioning from labor to software, and that's how they're positioning themselves to capture this transition. And their AI revenue is also very real, just like EGHT. They have surpassed over $100 million ARR, and they're growing over 50% year over year. And their enterprise AI bookings have more than tripled year over year. So AI revenue is completely growing, and basically they have a moat, if you can think of it as your voice agent needing to identify customers, understanding issues, and basically pulling up the data and acting on their behalf. And their customer platform actually will do all these things, and building this thing from scratch takes years of enterprise integration work. And that's how I see a software moat right now is, they are embedded in their customers' workflows, right? The two things that are very important right now when it comes to software, because they are, not in favor of the market, is do they have proprietary data, and are they embedded in the customer's workflow? And Five9 is really attractive on those two fronts. So obviously the key risk is also always that you could get displaced by hyperscalers or other pure play AI voice vendors. But Five9 is a compelling high revenue business in this theme. So getting us in the next one is going to be CXDO, Crescendo. So they are a small cap with a lot of AI promise, and they have actually acquired a company named ESI, which has, I think it was reported for about $35 million. And ESI is generating $26 million about in revenue, with roughly 80% recurring revenue at 86% gross margin. So it's a high revenue, high gross margin business that they kind of strategically acquired. And they're showing, good signs of growth on the back of that acquisition, with first quarter of 2026 total revenue jumped 29% year over year. And it's another kind of voice and communication company really going for the AI angle. So they have a product called Cairo, which is kind of an AI receptionist that also does routing. It'll answer your call. It'll do workflow automation. It'll escalate it to a live agent if needed. It does all sorts of support, and it is a great, genuine exposure to this AI voice thematic without being just kind of purely speculative about it, right? So you also always want to look at those pure play exposures. So it is a small cap, trading about 20 forward PE, and it's growing revenue highly, and it's a compelling pick in this thematic. So getting into the last one, and this is going to be ticker symbol AUDC, so audio codes, and they recently reported earnings of about 62 million, which is not up very much, but this is a company that has come out and said that they're basically targeting 40 to 50% growth in its voice AI segment for 2026, and they're aiming to reach approximately 80 million in that segment by 2028. So obviously it stands to be seen if they can do that. If you're choosing to buy this stock, that's a belief in that segment growing at that rate. But it's a management team that is, strongly focused on voice AI, and that's what you're always looking for is that reassurance from the management team that they want to face this sexier part of the business where they can find multiple expansion in their company. And so it's a very cheap stock. Well, I don't know about very cheap, but it's definitely cheap in terms of valuation. As you can see, the FinViz dashboard, 0.83 price to sales, 12 forward PE, about 8 times price to free cash flow, 0.71 EV to sales. So yeah, I would say very cheap, but I'm personally holding off any further looks at this until the chart kind of fixes itself, currently trading below all moving averages. And it's a company that has maybe a little bit of geographic risk, being right now in Israel at the time of the Iran war. I believe about half their employees are over there. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But yeah, this is going to be the fourth and final stock. And let me know what you think of all these plays. Let me know of what you think of this voice AI thematic. And I'll see you in the next video.